So, remember a month ago we started up a D47 versus bread yeast cranberry wine? Today we're going to find out how they taste. Hi, I'm Brian.
I'm Derica, and we're back with our Testerton.
Yeah, what she said. We made a cranberry wine back on April 19th, and today is May 7th. And, well, we meant to let it go for a month, and then taste it. And a month went by, and I saw a lot of activity in the airlocks. Now, I know counting bubbles doesn't mean a thing.
Is it May 7th?
Today's June 7th. Whoops. Anyway, so it's been sitting for about 3 weeks longer than we really wanted it to. Whatever. It's not a big deal. It does still show positive pressure in the airlocks, and they do still seem to be bubbling, but I'm guessing it's probably just off-gassing at this point. I can't imagine that either of these yeasts, with the amount of sugars that were in there, are still going after 7 weeks.
You can't see from your vantage point because we moved everything back, but if I move this, you still can't really see. These are incredibly clear already.
Oh yeah, they're what I call gem-like.
They have, the yeast and all the sediment has...
Flocculated.
Thank you, that's the word. Out of solution, so they're really pretty.
Yeah, they look great. They really do. So we're just going to get to it. And we're going to try to keep one on each side. So this is the bread yeast. So over here will always be bread yeast side. Over here will always be D47 side. Alrighty, so let's move this and try not to put it right in front of everything. And what we're going to do
we need to elevate?
We need the box of elevation. All right, so very carefully I'm going to put this on the box of elevation. Keep in mind this is the bread yeast. I'm going to hand off the lid to my lovely assistant. And as always, all this stuff's been sanitized. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, but we sanitize. And we're going to take this, stick it halfway down, put this in the bottom of the pitcher, and get it started. The idea is you don't want to disturb that yeast too much. That's why we don't go all the way down. And she's just going to watch that. So somebody asked me why I always use this pitcher to rack. Why I don't just rack into another bottle. I do it because it's very easy for me to see what's going on here. It has a wide open mouth, so I can get to everything in there to degas, and it has a spout, so if I feel like pouring it, I can pour it. It's not always a good idea, but it can be done. Now this test is especially interesting to me because I've actually made cranberry wine using this juice before, and I think I've actually done it with Fleischmann's and with D47 at separate times and completely different operations. And I don't think I ever tasted them side by side, but I don't recall there being a significant difference. So this is kind of interesting. And I don't know how it's going to come out. Okay, so it's been racked. The first thing I did notice between the two is it looked like there was more sediment in the bread yeast one. Now that could just be appearances, whatever, it's probably nothing, but it did look like there was more of a layer cake at the bottom there. So it's been cleaned, sanitized, and all that. I can see bubbles coming up in here, which I saw bubbles coming up in the jar too. And usually that's what yeast looks like when it's working. But the fact that it's doing it in here too makes me go, yeah, it's probably just off-gassing. So I'm going to degas it. And all I'm doing is just giving it a gentle stirring, not getting too hard with it. And I can hear the gas coming out. You can probably hear it now. That is degassing. So the reason we degas, a lot of people ask this all the time, is to get rid of all the gases that are in there. You don't necessarily want it to be carbonated, and this is old stuff. It's been in there for like 7 weeks, causing weird flavors and that footy taste and smell. Not a good thing, because it's not just carbon dioxide. There's sulfurous compounds and things like that too. There's enough compounds in there, let's just be honest. So, just trying to get some of that out. You probably don't need to watch me stir this whole thing. Alright, so I have degassed this as much as I care to. It's going to get racked, and we're going to let it sit for like 3 more months or 6 more months. So I'm not all that worried about it. In fact, having a little bit of extra gas in there gives that little bit of CO2 blanket protection It's all good stuff. What I am going to do, though, is take a reading. As always, turkey baster, graduated cylinder, hydrometer. Really simple.
You're done with this, right?
I am done with that. It is an amazing, bright, clear color. That I don't remember from my usual wines. They were usually darker. For some reason,
it reminds me of cherry Jello.
Yeah.
Before it's.
Yeah, it's an unusual color because we've made cranberry wine before, and it was more red, like it was more dark red. This is almost pink, which is a little surprising. Probably not a big deal, just something of note. All right, so this is kind of surprising and a little unusual. It came out to 1042, 1.042. Now it started at 1096, so that means it'll be right there how much the ABV is, but it only went down by like 50 points. That's not really a lot for bread yeast. Usually it goes much higher than that. But
today is
June 7th. But as always, we're going to pour off a small sample. That's enough to taste. I'm going to pour this back in. And here's the thing. We're dealing with such small volumes here. I can pour this carefully. I'm not going to be that cautious. This video will be 45 minutes long if I have to do everything through a siphon again.
So ideally, if you're using a big batch and this isn't just a test subject and you want to be more careful, you would siphon it back into your racking vessel after degassing. The reason why you don't want to pour like Brian is doing now is that you could oxygenate your brew, leading to a multitude of issues, vinegar being number one.
Yeah, ideally you don't want to do it the way I'm doing it, but you saw how gentle I was with it. Not really all that concerned. If this was a gallon, I probably wouldn't try that. Do you have the lid? Okay, so I'm just going to put a lid back on this with an airlock, and what you'll notice is the liquid level's like way up here. That's good. It's up past the neck of the bottle. There's a lot less headroom, less room for oxygen to touch it, less chance of oxygenation. That's why I really wasn't all that concerned. I knew what we had. So I'm going to put this to the side for the moment. And we're going to repeat the process with D47. So remove the lid. Carefully put it onto the box of elevation. Now this one was still sort of bubbling too, just so you guys know. Like I can see bubbles coming up from the bottom, which usually is a trigger that there's actually fermentation happening, but they're so sporadic that I can't really say for sure, and it could simply just be off-gassing. You know, gas is coming out of solution. Okay, so we're gonna take the lid off, put our siphon in, put it in our pitcher.
Ready?
I am ready. Oh yeah, tons of carbonation in these. I'm seriously thinking they're both done and it's just off-gassing going on.
There's so much carbonation. I think it's breaking our suction.
There you go. So if you wanted it to be sparkling, you don't really want the gases though. But sparkling cranberry wine might not be a bad thing.
I think it would be a delightful thing.
We might have to, because that one's got a lot of sugars in it still. I don't know what happened there. We'll find out. Some people say that cranberry is harder to ferment too, so we could have run into something like that. I've never had that problem before. But we shall see. Now something I'm seeing right off the bat is the lees on the bottom of the D47. Much more compacted, a lot less floating around. It looks more finished, you might say. So we racked, just like before, gonna degas. You probably can't tell, but there's about an inch of foam in this pitcher right now. That's degassing. And we're done degassing, so reading. Because we all know what you guys really want to know is, how does it taste? So don't leave, it's coming. We kind of want to know too. Alrighty, got our sample. And take a reading. Oh, this is interesting. They finished at roughly the same. This one is actually 1040. Now this one started at 1.100, ended at 1.040. So there's going to be just a touch higher alcohol content in this one than in this one. But they're both going to be, I would say, overly sweet, which may make tasting differences difficult, but we will find out. Pour off a little bit of a sample. Try to get them
on this side.
I'm just trying to get them to the same height. Alright. Put this back in here. And again, being a rebel, I'm just going to pour it back into the bottle, the jar. Then we put our airlock and lid back on. Incidentally, that one's already showing positive pressure again. I don't know. It's probably from off-gassing. I can't imagine it being anything else. Alright, wipe down a little bit here. We have our two samples. So this is the Fleischmann's, and this is the D47. Right off the bat, held up to the light, they are identical. They're both very pink, rather than the red color that I come to expect from most cranberry wines. Okay, I'm going to say that they're equal in dignity so far. Give it a smell. I get a nice fruity note, a little bit of cranberry. I kind of smell alcohol in this one, but it's hard to say.
For as much gas as
Remember,
came
now
out,
you have the
yes.
bread yeast. Interesting. The smell on the D47 isn't quite as strong as the smell on the bread yeast.
I smell more cranberry and Fleischmann's and more sweet fruit, not necessarily cranberry. And
I get a weaker smell off the D47 in general. There's more aroma coming from the bread yeast.
yeah.
Like by a couple of steps. Okay.
But as I was halfway saying, as much gas as was coming off of both of these when Brian was degassing, I expected there to be more unpleasant aromas.
Nothing unpleasant.
And
For a green wine, this smells wonderful.
yeah.
All right, let's give it a taste. I'm back with the bread yeast again.
Yes.
I would drink this. This is good. I hate to use that as a tasting note, but I get the tartness of the cranberry. I get the sweetness because it is sweet. It should taste a lot sweeter than it is, but I would totally drink this. It's more or less a dessert wine at this point. For most people, for some people, this is overly way too sweet. For me, I like it. I think that's fantastic.
Taste-wise for me on this one, and I'll have to compare when I taste the other one, I'm still going with my Jell-O analogy. It tastes like
Really?
sugary fruit water.
I wish we had bigger samples. There's not much difference between them, which is relatively unexpected. I will tell you what my prediction was in a moment. I want to hear what she thinks of that one.
I want to feel like I'm getting more cranberry from the Fleischmann's
I agree.
than I am from this. They're both, I would say, sweetness level. I think they...
About the limit that you'd want it to be.
Right.
You wouldn't want it any sweeter than this.
But they taste similarly enough sweet, which is reflective in their gravity readings, that they should be similarly enough sweet in taste. To me, this one tastes more generic and not, oh, that's cranberry, where that one
Yes.
tastes more
Absolutely.
cranberry.
I just tasted them side by side really quickly. Definitely cranberry. Kind of just a sweet one. That's pretty much what I'm getting.
Something that may have been a factor in that is when I was doing the different scents, I was getting more cranberry scent from that one as well. So that, because your sense of smell and your sense of taste are so connected, your brain might be smelling the cranberry and making you think that you're tasting more cranberry. Who knows? I don't.
At the end of the day, though, they're both excellent the way they are, and I would drink either one. I think I'm gonna say the bread yeast one is just a little bit better.
Yeah.
It has more flavors, more of the flavors that you're looking for. It's more complex, actually. It has more layers of flavors, where this is kind of one note.
This one almost comes across as sugar water with some fruit.
Yeah.
Which is disappointing and kind of odd. Where this one, to me, is cranberry.
Now for my prediction that didn't come true. What I had actually thought was going to happen is that the bread yeast one was going to stop and have some residual sweetness, not as much as it has, but a lot of residual sweetness, and I thought the D47 would chug right through and go dry. Nope, they performed almost identical. I mean, within a couple of percentage points of exactly the same. The flavor-wise, though, I think the bread yeast gets a nod. Now, if I was going to put this on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like the best thing I've ever drank and 0 being horrible, I'm going to make the D47 like a 6, maybe even a 6.5. And if that's a 6.5, then this is a 7.
Yeah.
It's that close.
They're very similar.
They're half a point to a point away from each other.
I think
They're
the only
not
reason why we're getting any differences is because we are tasting them and comparing them right next to each other.
If I tried this one and a week later tried that one, I wouldn't notice any difference. Like I said earlier, I have made them with both things, never tried them side by side, and never could have a discernible difference. Now I know why.
One quick thought of why they didn't ferment out more. We did notice an incredible amount of gas, more than what we normally witness, and these are half-gallon containers, so there is a chance that all those gases built up in here and not enough escaped, causing the yeast to be stressed a little bit and
nobody likes to swim in their own waste.
Not work as well as they may have.
But we're going to let these sit for another 3 to 6 months. We'll be back again to give another taste. That's all I got. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
This one came out really good, didn't it?
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah. It's really dry. Maybe we can back sweeten a little bit with some flavors. You're still here? Wow. Thanks, guys. That's really cool. But that was it for this video.
Go on. Go watch some more.
Yeah.
They're good.
Who's that lady that used to do the go away, go away?
Tracy Ullman.
Tracy Ullman. Yeah. I don't think they have any idea who we're talking about.
It's okay.
It's okay. Go drink some mead. Or make some food. Make some food, then drink some mead. Make some food, drink mead while you're making the food, and then drink some more mead. And then have whiskey later. What? That's what I do.